Welcome to the Mousecast podcast. It's yet another Tuesday night, but tonight you determine our topics as you join us for open mic. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper every time. Theme parks, cruise ships, and travel. If you don't listen, maybe now it's time. Tonight on the show, we open up the door. Start with some news and chat, and viewers get the floor. So join us now for an amazing show as we begin to see what you can do for an open mic night of fun.
Hello and welcome to Mousecast, the podcast where the mind meets the magic. It's boys' night. That's right. It's Matt and I tonight hanging out. Megan is partying right now. She's hooping it up with her son who is experiencing his birthday today. So I want to do a huge happy birthday to Flynn. Happy birthday to you, buddy. Maybe they'll be joining us in the chat tonight. We'll see or not. But happy birthday to Flynn, and Megan is spending time with her family tonight, as is Hawk. So we want to say, again, a huge thanks to Matt, who's hanging out with me tonight. And it's open mic night, which means you, that's right, you, you over there, you get to determine the topics for tonight. No, Matt, not you, them. The guys and gals in the chat, they get to do the topic tonight. Yeah, so if you're watching us live right now, be sure to chime in on the chat. And if you've got questions or topics you want to talk about, pop up in the chat and we'll be sure to do that. But while we're waiting, Matt, there was a little announcement that came out from Disney late this afternoon. And it turns out there had been some questions about who would replace Josh tomorrow as the head of Disney Parks and Experiences, and none other than Thomas Masloum. I think that's how I've said his name right. Thomas Masloum. He is the current president of Disneyland, of the Disneyland Resort. He will now take over as the new chair of what they are calling Disney Experiences. And so that's going to include parks, cruise ships, resorts, expedition, adventures, consumer products. Interestingly enough, that it is including consumer products and Walt Disney Imagineering. So, I don't know about you, Matt, but to me, this is a good announcement.
Yeah, I mean, based on what I was reading, it seems like another Josh D'Amaro in a sense. This cast member oriented, and just his previous experience about driving, service excellence, especially in hospitality, which Disney was always known for. And to me, it's been something that I think needs to be reintroduced into the park a little bit more. To me, it's a really good fit. So I'm interested to see.
I think this is going to be a great fit. And for those of us that are watching right now, this is the news release that Disney posted earlier, and they said Masloum held senior leadership roles at Walt Disney World before being named president of Disney Signature Experiences, which of course covers things like the Disney Cruise Line, where he was involved in new ships, especially the new Disney Adventure that just opened up very recently and expanded the Disney Cruise Line into Asia, which is a great new market for Disney, and I think somewhere that is another untapped or partially tapped, because they've got parks in Asia, but now Disney Cruise Line is a whole new area that I think Disney can really excel at in the Disney Cruise Line. So for me, I really do think that Thomas Masloum is going to be a great addition. I think he's going to continue the leadership that Josh D'Amaro had in Disney Parks. And I think for us that are Disney Parks fans, this means that Disney Parks, I think, is going to continue to have a strong seat at the table, is going to continue to be a priority in the Disney company. And so congratulations to Thomas Masloum. And I think this is exactly what we are, in many respects, what I think we were hoping for. This would be a good thing. So congratulations to him. As part of that, they did announce a new head over at Disneyland. Jill Estorino is going to be the new president over at Disneyland. And so she's going to take over the parks over there. So congratulations to her as well. And so, again, if you've got comments, be sure to pop them in the chat. because it is open mic night when we want to hear from you and find out what you would like to talk about tonight. Matt, there was something that we were kicking around earlier that it was an idea that you had, and kind of explain a little bit about this. It is open mic night, but Matt had kind of an extra musing for us.
Yeah, Matt's musings came a little early this month. So I'd recently seen an article about how Disney collaborated with Formula One racing and stuff like that. And it kind of got me thinking on where could Disney expand their branding, and what markets could they get into. We talked about Flower and Garden last week, and I know Scentsy is now a big, where Disney and Scentsy partnered up. My wife used to sell it before Disney came around, and some of the stuff that we've seen now between scents and the warmers and stuff like that it's unreal. They're actually coming out with a new castle with the new paint job that I just got. So it looks absolutely incredible. So something like that, and taking something, not really a small company like Scentsy, but taking something like that and partnering with Disney, and now it's huge. What they must be doing now is crazy because of that Disney touch. So I thought it would be kind of a something fun to possibly talk about. Is what else could kind of Disney dive into as far as branding and working together with, other items and stuff like that would bring that Disney touch on, would make it explode.
It's interesting because this does tie into what we were just talking about, because remember, part of Disney Experiences that Thomas Maslam is going to be doing is Disney Consumer. So this is an area that he will ultimately oversee. And so what are some areas that Disney could possibly jump into? And I think this is an area where I think maybe Disney Parks also could really benefit. We've had some great examples. So things like Pandora. Disney built a relationship with Pandora, and now there are park exclusive Pandoras out there, charms, bracelets, all kinds of things in the jewelry realm. Things like Loungefly that you have, park exclusive, even event exclusive now, backpacks and things like that. So I would love to see Disney start to partner with some companies, and somebody like maybe, one of the first ones that kind of came to mind, and it might not be somewhere that many would think about, but something like a national retailer like a Jose Bank, a Brooks Brothers, come up with Disney executive wear. So for those of us that have to, go to work and they wear, you need to wear golf shirts. And I'm not talking about, just the golf shirts that you wear out to play, do outdoor wear, golf, or, a little casual wear, but, nicer executive level golf shirts that maybe you can put a jacket over top of, but it's got some Disney branding to it. Maybe like if you've seen Roarbacks are great shirts that you could, that's got a nice pattern to it, but you can also, they're nice enough and stylish enough, I guess, that they would be fine to wear a jacket with at in a business event, or, doing some nice Disney button downs or something like that, where you've got, either on the lapels or something like that, but do some Disney executive wear that would help for folks to, be able to kind of subtly and quietly share their park enthusiasm or their Disney enthusiasm without being, overt. And I'm not talking about ties and things like that, because, I don't know about your place of work, but for me, ties are kind of, going out the window these days. A lot of people go, it's like just no tie anymore. And so, unless some who do bow ties, or some guys who really like to do the bow tie, but that's perfectly fine. So, what else? I would love to see that, though. Some executive wear, something like Disney Office, almost like there's your brand, Disney Office. Right. This was something that was in the Shop Disney or the old Disney stores a while ago, but I haven't really seen anything to that level. You can find some occasionally on Disney Store, but it's just not, it's a little bit too consumer level. I think it needs to be something a little bit more elevated and higher quality kind of thing. But, again, a Disney Office line. So, nice office stuff, nice, business attire, kind of thing like that, I think would be really cool. What else you got in mind?
So you got me thinking about that. And I know for me personally, finding any kind of this, even just regular shirts, like T-shirts and stuff like that, just having maybe like a plus size, just overall. I know.
Yeah.
Disney
Oh, I'm
kinda
with you.
caters to this.
Big and tall.
Exactly. Like, especially down in Disney and stuff like that, like where it's hot constantly, you want something more loose fitting versus, I mean, it seems like their sizes aren't always like, whatever my size is, I'd have to go another size up in Disney wear for it to
Yep.
fit the way I feel comfortable. So, and it's just like, and that's for me, it's hard to find, especially in the parks and stuff like that.
They
So
are.
I
They are
know
hard to
it's
find
not
plus sizes.
maybe, I don't know what the market is out there. I don't know if they tried anything like that. But to me, like, a big and tall for Disney would be great. Or,
No, completely
like
agree with you.
mentioned-
Big and tall would be, and also petite. The other end too
Right.
is the petite size. So look for, if you are going to do wear that's not only for the big and tall, but also the small and short thing like that. Mark Sonnenberg says Aroma Retail does the scents in the Universal hotels. Does the scent company provide Disney scents, or are they copycat? And if not, I'd love Disney to offer the official scents. That's a good observation. There are plenty of copycat and similar to candle scent essential oil groups. Core Memory Candles. Lisa Donota Glassner, we're talking about you. Is one that I happen to know well and have purchased several of her things over time, and they're, I'll tell you, the Orange Grove and those things, they're pretty close. They're good stuff, but I don't know if they're considered the official scent. So that's an interesting one to grab. Have Disney start to get into that of doing, okay, here are the official things that we do. So the burning smell in Rome, the orange, of course, the
I
Orange Grove
thought
is the
there
most
was
popular one,
something out
probably.
there. I thought there was a company that they did do something with that. I could be wrong.
Maybe, but I'm
off the top of my head,
yeah.
it sounds familiar, but who it was or if it's even
Yeah,
true.
and so and that also brings to mind also looking at, there is in the parks, there is D Tech. It's letter D, TECH, and you see them on Disney Store. Well, they're okay, but I'm back to the same thing. It's the quality. This, for instance, for those that are watching live on the vidcast right now on the stream, this is a watch band that I got out in the parks a while ago. But as you can see, the quality, and I've had this for not even a year. And as you can see here, the quality is really starting to wear down, and that's something that I think Disney needs to maybe go look for a better supplier, or again partner with a good quality third company that will do things like phone covers and iWatch bands and things like that are higher quality than maybe what you do. And the custom print is nice, but the custom print doesn't always last all that well, and it's not all that hard wearing. So working with OtterBox or other places like that to do some, and again get back to the concept of park exclusives. Mark also says he misses the custom printed magic bands with all the ride themes. Those get pretty interesting as well. And Mark, I'm glad you brought this up, because this is also something that I think is a little bit lacking in the parks. There used to be a little bit better, but it's lacking a little bit more these days, which is really truly park specific and park exclusive items, down to the point of attractions. Yes, there's Haunted Mansion stuff out there, but Haunted Mansion in many respects isn't an attraction anymore. Haunted Mansion has kind of become a brand. It's become its own identity that's evolved outside of the attraction. You're getting Haunted Mansion stuff just because it's Haunted Mansion. But there was one point where I was at Disneyland, and this would have been and Mark agrees, says, yep, like 2024, that I was over in Disneyland, and I happened to find, and I don't think it lasted all that long, but it was a shirt, and it was a golf shirt, and it had Cars Land on it, the actual logo for Cars Land. And I'm like, wow, that's really cool. I snatched it up. You don't see those anymore. You don't see that kind of wear that is specific to parks without getting, a little bit more generic. You'll see stuff that's parks, but it's all the parks. And I could find it at Walt Disney World. I could find it at Disneyland. But it's not the one that says, oh, I'm going to wear one that says Space Mountain. Or, something that says Soarin'. Or something like that is truly specific to an attraction, an experience, a resort. You do find some resort shirts. I'll give them that. Finding some resort golf shirts and things like that. But that was pretty cool. And it's hard to find those these days. I'd love to see Disney Consumer Products really think about how we can do some, to some degree, limited edition, but get down and do some really specific park merchandise that's almost like hyper local. Think of it that way. So what do you think, Matt? What would you go for that kind of stuff?
I would. I know they kind of do that with pins, which has kind of like been my new obsession lately. I got back into
pins is all over the place.
Trading but they usually have LEs of 300, 500 and stuff like that. Like right now, I just saw a bunch of the new flowering garden for this year, and they're incredible. But usually they'll put a year on it, and it's specific to that festival, and you're going to probably find it at Epcot during that festival. Generally speaking, and stuff like that. So they do it a little bit, but like you said, it's just not enough, or like you said, it's too generic. Taking the same printed sweatshirt and just changing it from Disney World or Disneyland or Shanghai. Mm-hmm. It's just kind of okay, this is kind of it's nice, but it's just kind of copycat, change the location and mass produce it. So, yeah, having something more park exclusive, something specific to Disney World or Disneyland, I think that would be something interesting to get into, because then it makes it a little bit more special in a way.
Yeah, it does. And Mark Soderberg in the chat here brings up an interesting point. He says, I hate it when Disney makes the generic Etsy, and I think you mean Etsy-like shirts, and think it's cool. He says, we want the real IP without the ridiculous prices, so we go to Etsy as a backup to Disney prices. And, Mark, I'm glad you brought that up. That was something that Matt and I were talking about before we started the live show here, that Etsy has become a place where you can find park-specific and attraction-specific materials. Now, the difference there, of course, is a lot of this is made somewhat on demand, where, if you're getting into the parks, they've got to make it in bulk or something like that to make it worthwhile. The price-wise, I know where you're at. That's a frustration for a lot of things, especially these days. We were talking about how, gas prices are much higher right now. How is that going to have an impact on the parks? That's a question we were also, we might chit-chat a little bit about here, of the impacts of seeing higher gas prices currently. Would that impact spring break or summer travel? Especially if this ends up being, these prices end up staying for a little while. But to Mark's point though, Matt, Etsy is a place you have to wonder. It's almost the wild, wild west in Etsy. You can almost think Etsy and NIL. It's like the same thing these days. It's the Wild Wild West. I don't know how, some of that, some people may be officially getting, Disney licensing. I imagine some of it is probably not. We here at Mousecast encourage you, don't violate Disney IP. Don't go for the lawyers and give the lawyers a chance to get after you, because if they do catch you, you're not going to like it. But, there are a lot out there. And so there are a lot of folks who do go and do kind of their own thing, and their stuff sells out. I mean, I have some pretty cool Marvel shirts that are clearly not Disney made, that we found off of Etsy, and they're not. They use a little bit of Marvel IP, but I mean they're really awesome shirts. And so the Etsy impact. What do you think?
Yeah, it's interesting on how third markets now, and people that it's hey, maybe I can make a little small business out of using this, these designs and stuff like that, as long as you don't get caught. Or maybe you can use a slight variation, so maybe it's not exactly, you look at Mickey and maybe it's not quite Mickey, it's really close, but there's certain nuances that throw it off to where you're hey, I'm not violating anything. I mean, that opens a whole nother can of worms, and like we said, we don't condone that. But, just finding stuff to, Disney prices are kind of crazy. And if people can find a way to get stuff cheaper and even make it cheaper, then they're gonna do it. Like I said, I collect pins, and I found an app that instead of spending, $12, $13 in the park, I can buy the same pin for $5. So, I mean, it's people will find ways to save money to get what they want as far as Disney. And I don't know if, Disney really has a response to that, because if they start really cracking down, then to me that this kind of possibly creates a bad image. It's just like, yeah, we're cracking down, but we want you to spend our price, buy this merchandise at our price versus finding it at a more affordable price through somebody else. It just kind of creates us a little bit of maybe a nightmare as far as their image.
Yeah, it does. It certainly presents a reputation challenge, and so it is something that I can understand why they want to have the prices that they do, because they're out there to try to make money, and I get that. At the same time, you don't make any money on something that nobody buys, because
Right.
it's possibly priced too high, and so those are struggles. And Mark Sonnenberg says Disney is making Etsy level stuff that is generic, like not using their image and then selling it to us. So an
Right.
interesting and a valid comment there. One of the pieces that you were talking about, and not just in the merchandising realm though, but you were back and talking about Formula One, that there are a number of different pieces that I think Disney could really leverage in the sports entertainment area. And I give an example of this. Over the weekend, I happened to go, had the opportunity. I was at the SEC, the Southeastern Conference women's basketball tournament in Greenville, South Carolina. It was actually fascinating to watch how ESPN really had integrated into the tournament. Of course, ESPN heavily funds the SEC. As well as it supports things like the ACC as well. Danny, by the way, says there are affordable Disney wear at Primark, but the quality is lacking. And see, Danny, I'm glad you brought that up, because that's the issue. You can get it, but then that quality is lacking. And again, I go back to things like this D-Tech, where you can find it, it's official, but then the quality is poor. And so what I think, something that hopefully Thomas Masloom can do is possibly, help kind of address that. And let's think, okay, you think Disney, you think quality, we need to restore that quality in Disney consumer products. So, but getting into, again, the SEC, how could Disney leverage and through the, maybe the ESPN brand a little bit more, leverage some of these things? This is where I think that possibly Disney made a mistake in taking away things like the ESPN Club or ESPN Zone. And I think maybe Hollywood Studios is the place to do this, because Hollywood fits that TV and movies, and it's the entertainment section. So, maybe over Hollywood Studios, maybe that's what you do with the Starliner, by the way. Maybe you completely gut it and turn it into an ESPN experience. I wonder if that would work. But then get that and think about Sports Center, okay? If you watch a lot of Sports Center, first of all, it repeats a lot. Well, why not make Sports Center live, but then, every other hour? All right, let's go check in with what the folks down at the ESPN Zone at Disney World are talking about. Hey, guys, what do you think about the fact of this trade that was made for the NFL? There's a lot of NFL action that's taking place, right now or whatever. So, get people as they're watching the game. You dip into that, everything like that. Mark says cover the entire playing floor into and I think he was writing a comment, but I got cut off there. But yeah, cover all of that. And so I think that you have those opportunities to tie into sports events. They already have Run Disney. Why not Race Disney? There's a lot of different racing events that they could do. Try to, I'm not sure how you would do it, but, think about a little, maybe not a Formula One. Well, I mean, what about like a Grand Prix? Could you do a Grand Prix down there? It would probably create traffic nightmares like no tomorrow, But there may be some options to think about some additional sports things, and especially using Wild World of Sports and bringing in sports teams to do benefits. Here's a classic example. So the Premier League, now granted, this is NBC Sports, but you'd have to work on that. Could you bring in, and this is maybe where Disney and Universal come together and say, hey, we're gonna partner on this, because Disney's got the space. Universal doesn't have any space to put on a soccer match. But you bring in Premier League teams over the summer to do exhibition matches at Wild World of Sports. That's going to sell out. I was at a Liverpool-Manchester United match in South Carolina a couple of years ago, and it completely filled Williams-Brice Stadium in South Carolina, at University of South Carolina. I mean, we're talking 50, 60,000 people sold out. You think Disney could sell out their areas down there? Yeah. Now, would they need to probably do some infrastructure changes to improve the number of seats and everything like that? Probably, but kind of an apple and chicken and egg thing. I mean, but I think it's another great opportunity. Tie in with Premier League, tie in with NBA, tie in with baseball. At one point, they had the Grapefruit League down at ESPN, and the Braves. Was it the Braves? I think it was the Braves that used to play in the spring. They would do spring training. Are they still down there?
I don't think so.
I don't think they
as far as I know, because a lot of that they just kind of did away from. I think we mentioned it previously in another episode of the traffic nightmare would just be is I think why they shied away from it. Because I mentioned Savannah Bananas, Banana Ball, and stuff like that has become really popular.
Oh yeah,
and stuff like that.
Banana
to have
Ball.
them down at Disney World, which I think they are playing a couple games down there this upcoming.
They are, I think.
Season. So that could be really interesting. And something that we had mentioned earlier, is the TGL, the Indoor Golf League, based down there in Florida right now. I know ESPN does the coverage and stuff like that, but you don't see it anywhere. Like outside of just like, hey, it's on ESPN. There is no there's no touch of Disney or anything like that. So I think that some way, somehow, if you could, where it is simulator courses, I know they're using a bunch of these, professionals that design all these courses. How is there not some kind of Disney, hole? They have all these special conditions they've made for some of these, for certain holes and stuff like that, certain nuances, which makes the game so much more fun.
Did you see the thing where it was this last week or 2 weeks ago? This is a virtual hole-in-one. I mean, it's essentially like a souped-up Wii Sports.
Yep.
And, I mean, people went bananas because he made a hole-in-one.
The second one
Mark
this year.
said Nickelodeon is virtually sliming NFL games to attract younger audiences and tag football professional leagues. Great idea, Mark. So guess what? Here's ESPN2, or you do ESPNU, or do it on Disney Junior or something like that. Do a simulcast of a particular game.
Disney Plus, they've
That's
done a couple
Nickelodeon.
games. They did Monsters Inc. and they did Toy Story. They did
They did do Monsters Inc. I remember that.
And stuff like that, which it's okay. It needs to be fine-tuned. I think over Christmas they did a basketball game with Mickey and friends. And it's okay.
It's with all things, it's got to work on the technology.
The kids will watch it for 2-3 minutes, and then it's like, I'm bored. It's just, there's no draw to it. And if you actually want to watch the game, you're not going to watch this kind of knockoff. So I like the attempt, but just technology just isn't there quite yet.
And speaking, by the way, of Banana Ball is coming to Walt Disney World, as Matt said. It is coming in to ESPN on May 29 and 30 of this year. So if you are interested in Banana Ball at Walt Disney World, and by now, who knows, it may already be sold out. But Banana Ball is coming. So it's another opportunity for tying into that type of added experience and you're looking at different sports
too,
teams.
so it's not just like
Banana Ball is very
baseball
kid-friendly.
game. I mean, the way they get the crowd into it and all the stuff that they do. My daughter wants to go see a game, and she's 6, and she won't sit down for much of anything. So the fact that she wants to go and sit down and watch a game, there's got to be something to it. So that just adds to the family dynamic that Disney has always gone for. Is Savannah Bananas, Banana Ball. So
Yep, and the banana ball, and it is taking the country by storm. Actually, I think it's getting global now. Mark is asking, what is banana ball? Oh, Mark, just go to Google and type banana ball, and will you find out?
YouTube it. You're on YouTube. Just find Savannah
or
Bananas.
YouTube it. Yeah, YouTube it is better because then you'll see it because it's baseball on crazy crack. That's probably the best way
Yeah,
to put it.
it's
banana ball is a
playing
fun
with a bunch of your
experience.
friends. It's like baseball,
it's-
like meets like your beer league, like softball and stuff
Yeah,
like that.
it's silliness and fun.
It's really entertaining, especially if you want to get kids into the game a little bit more and interested.
Yep.
It was like, hey, this is
So-
what kind of goes on, but they bring a whole new element to it where it's. You're not just sitting there for 9 innings and the mental game and stuff like that. It's like, oh, what's he thinking? Where's he going to throw? It's just like, hey, they're going to do a little dance and then he's going to throw something and maybe he'll hit it, maybe he won't. And it's you don't know what to expect. It just brings. It's kind of like it's almost like wrestling. It's really playing, but it's also they got all these shenanigans thrown in that makes it better to watch.
There's a lot of think of it like kind of like the Harlem Globetrotters of baseball.
Yeah,
So there's
exactly.
legitimate baseball being played, but there's also quite a bit of shenanigans and good old fashioned tomfoolery. So there are some pieces though. There was one other thing I was getting ready to mention, and then you were talking about that about some other opportunities that I think where Disney can partner to do things better. Obviously, well, here's one that they've done recently, and it is a partnership that they partner with National Geographic for a lot of experiences. And so while yes, there's still Adventures by Disney, National Geographic really takes that whole expedition exploration type of travel to a whole new level through National Geographic. That you can do some amazing things. Antarctica, you can do Galapagos Islands, you can do a number of really incredible experiences, and that's another area where I think that maybe they need to work. There already is through Adventures by Disney. There's like a backstage Disney that you can go to. Imagineering, you can go to the Henson Studios and things like that. I'm wondering if they need to do almost that version at Walt Disney World. Take the Keys to the Kingdom tour and turn it into a multi-day experience where you really get, and it have to be very, very small, probably 10 people, 12 people, something like that. But go into Imagineering and actually, sit down with an Imagineer, work with an Imagineer. In fact, there's something they used to have. It was called Lunch with an Imagineer. And this was years and years ago. And it was over, I happened to do it one year. I had I don't even know where it is anymore. You got a custom plate signed by the Imagineer, everything like that. It was over at Hollywood. I did it at Hollywood and Vine. And it was awesome. It was absolutely incredible to sit there and talk with an Imagineer and everything like that. Sadly, it went away. And, I really wish that those were the kind of things that could come back where, you get to talk with an Imagineer, meet them, really get just kind of and it was only like 10 people, maybe 8 people that you sat down for this experience and were able to really get in depth and talk about different things. We heard about a couple of things that were coming up at the time. They said, we can't really talk about it, but, we're blue skying a couple of really neat things, this, that, and the other. And so it was really kind of an amazing deal. What other areas would you think about, Matt, that you would want to do? And by the way, if you're watching live right now, put your ideas out in the chat as far as things that you would like to see, new experiences, new product lines, anything like that, or your other questions. It is open mic, Mike. Remember, you get to choose the topics.
I had one other.
So what do you think? Yeah,
the
go ahead.
legalities of this would just be very, very Disney would never go for this.
The lawyers will be fine with it.
Yeah, not for this, I don't think. But I don't know. I like to go to casinos and stuff like that, and I would love to see a Disney slot machine. I don't know about anybody else, but just something princess themed or a toy. Just take something and just. But to me, the legal troubles of that just seem like it's just more of a headache than it's worth as far as the licensing and stuff.
Well,
like
and that's
that.
also gets against the. Yeah, that would go against the Disney brand.
Yeah.
There is an
exactly.
idea that I've had
It's
for a
blue sky
while,
idea.
and Yeah, and some don't really like it, and I can understand why, because Disney's focus is on families, and I
Right.
get that, and I totally agree Disney's focus is on families. But also, I think it's a missed opportunity, and I've talked about this several times. And again, this is a minority opinion. This is one of these, the meme, change my opinion, kind of thing like that. I think Disney Cruise Line, now that we have enough ships out there, needs to put out once a quarter, maybe only once every 6 months, put out an adults only cruise for 21 and up. Now, does that mean you're going to serve a ton of alcohol on the ship? Nope. But it's just you can it's a be a kid again cruise. All right,
I don't
Matt,
think
you
you're
don't
in the
like the idea.
minority
Tell
on
me
this,
that.
Chuck. I think the term Disney adult is just growing and growing from what I can see on social media. I don't think you're in the minority. I think this idea would be huge, and it would, as soon as, if Disney
I think
announced
these
something
cruises
like
will
this,
sell out in
it would
in
take
seconds.
off. Yeah, exactly. Like, you could probably book years in advance. You open up something, it's just like, okay, you book it like a Disney trip. You got to, book it out like a year in advance or something like that, and it will fill up like that. So that idea,
I really
float it.
think it will. I think you could get away with doing once a quarter. So every 6 months you do a 7-day, and then the other 6 months, so you do, let's call it spring and fall are a 4-day, 3-day, 4-day, pick one, and then summer, winter are 7-day, or flip it, whatever. But something like that. So every 6 months you're doing a 7-day, and every 6 months you're doing a 3-day, 4-day,
yeah,
something
think
like
it's
that.
You
Or actually,
the
maybe you do
demand for
both
it.
because that way. They'll go. I think they'll go for it, but I understand there are others that say Disney won't ever do that because they're focused on families, and I get that. But at the same time, I'm with you. I do think that the idea of this, to me, I think it's an entire campaign, not just for Disney Cruise Line, but it's also for Walt Disney World and everything like that. It's the entire be a kid again concept. It's okay to go down to Disney World. You're adults all on your own and be a kid again. Has nothing to do with, it's an adults only cruise and we're going to go, drink and get hammered or anything like that. Nothing like that.
No.
But it's just, it's enjoying time and spending time as adults, not having to worry about the kids and being able to enjoy the ship. And you can have different dining experiences. Do a different menu that is a little less potentially kid friendly. You can still have more traditional foods, elsewhere in the, all that kind of stuff, but in the main dining rooms and in your, of course, your signature restaurants and things like that, Remy's, Palo, whatever. But yeah, I think that it's a perfect opportunity and something that could really, really take off. If for the folks in the chat, tell us what you think about some of the bits that we have talked about. It's open mic night. We want to hear what you have to say. Do you have questions or comments or topics that you want us to talk about? So put this out in the chat. So, Matt, as we start to kind of think about, wrapping things up here, and we were talking about it earlier and we're not going to, Mousecast is not going to get into the political at all on this, but the fact of the matter, and it's just a fact, the gas prices are very high right now, higher than they've been in quite a while. And if being, an assumption that they continue to stay high, do you think that that's going to have an impact on spring break travel? For some, spring break's already started. The majority of spring break travel is going to really kick up here in the next week or two. Probably about the next week and for the next month. And then, of course, you've got summer travel as well. Do you think it'll impact it all that much?
No, I don't think so. At this point, the way Disney's already hiked up prices over, it's averages over $200 a ticket now, I think. Or it was
Something
talked
like
about
that.
Prices were going to be, over $200 for a park ticket. If that isn't stopping people, I don't think, gas prices are going to stop people, honestly. If they've already got the trip booked, they're going, no matter what. I mean,
Yeah, I'm wondering
the
more
mindset
about
with-
those last second or those day trippers.
Yeah, once again, I
with
still
the day
don't think
trippers.
if they want to do it, they're just going to do
Okay.
it. They're, either they're going to hop that flight or they're just going to, drive those few hours, whatever they're going to do. This is like, you know what? we're just gonna do it. Like
Yeah.
the mindset being,
But it is.
I hate to say, YOLO, but it's kind of like the way it is, and that new mentality that's starting to float around of, you know what, realistically, you only do live once or die once, whatever you want to,
Yeah.
how to spin it and stuff like that. But just, you're always going to need money. So just do the trip, make the memories, have that moment, even if it's just that day trip. I mean,
You can't take it with you, as they say.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
So it's
You can't take it with you.
nope.
But on that note, though, something else that we did talk, and you had mentioned it to me earlier, and forgot to bring it up here. Disney is offering some discounts, and in fact, there's a new one that just came out that is currently for DVC members that they're getting exclusive access, but it looks like that it's going to possibly it could get extended to some others, and that is free dining coming up. And
DVC or
there's
Visa
always
card
everybody's always kind of I believe
DVC
it
or
was
Visa
for. I thought it was for. I thought that was one specifically for DVC members, but there might also be one for
We had talked
Visa
about
card
the Visa
holders
card
as well.
earlier, so
Yeah, and there are all kinds, and the whole point is the free dining. It pops up in different forms all over the place. I think the current one out there is DVC, just for DVC members. But and they say it's a sneak peek, which means then if it's a sneak peek, that means it could go to some other folks very, very soon. Mark says confirmed. Yes, it was also for Visa card holders. I thought so, but free dining is done with, as they say, a non-discounted package, and then you get the free dining. That's right. Mark said that was the one that was on his desk today, and that's what also reminded me about it. That can be a good deal, or it cannot be a good deal, and it kind of depends on where you stay and how you like to dine. So, Matt, you were saying that for you felt like this was something you jump all over.
yeah. I mean, for us value resorts right now with two little ones, and our meals are basically okay. We're going over to Cosmic Rays, or we're just finding cheeseburgers, chicken tenders, fries, something like quick, easy that the kids will eat, and my wife and I can always split something. So something like a quick service. So getting that for free for staying at a value resort that we're going to be staying in anyway. Sign me up. I haven't looked at the exact cost breakdown and stuff like that, but to me, like, if I can save on spending, that's two quick services. It's probably
Yeah.
$50
So
between
the
three of us.
Yeah, something like that. Well, I mean, you got to do the math, and so you have to look at like for a value resort, probably talking like an All Stars or something like that, or even to Pop Century, your savings if you were getting a discount instead of doing the dining plan is probably somewhere in the neighborhood of 10 to maybe 15%. I think the current and Mark says the snack plan is the value package. I believe you get the quick service dining plan. And then Mark has a new topic that we'll catch on to here in just a second. You just have to do the math and see if you get a discount and then you bought the dining plan. Would that be better, more economical than the other direction? And it really kind of, I think the higher level resort you stay at, the chances that the dining plan is going to be a better deal get less. I think the lower level resort, the more you stay at value, things like that, the more the dining plan becomes the better deal. Mark Jones says, new topic, do you think Josh is going to bring back the little things that make Disney magical, or will he bow to the shareholders? We were talking about this a little bit earlier also, of course, with the new announcement with Thomas Maslam, who is the new head of Disney Parks and Experiences as well. And so I think that we're going to see a return to Disney Magic. And in fact, we're already hearing some of that. Very recently at Disneyland, there was some talk that cast members are going to be getting back into and kind of really re-encouraged to work on and make that the cast member experience be back the way it was. Mark says for a while, I think he will. I think it'll be a little bit longer than that, Mark Jones. Or correction, Mark Sonnenberg. I really think that this is, I think Josh Tamar realizes, and I think Thomas Maslam, I think also realizes that the Disney difference is the cast member. You can build great attractions, you can build great restaurants and parks and everything like that, but what keeps people coming back time and time and time again is the interaction that the guest has with the cast member. So knowing that I think Disney's greatest asset always has been and probably always will be the cast member, there is a return to getting back to really pre-COVID cast member experiences. And Disney, COVID threw Disney for an absolute tailspin. I mean, they were nuked and hammered by COVID. Very difficult to get staff, to restaff up, everything like that. And then, they had to, because a lot of folks left. And so, they had to come back and tried to staff up as quickly as they could. And, the word may be, and the scuttlebutt is that maybe some of the traditional training, such as traditions, were maybe cut a little bit short. Now, again, that's rumor mill. I cannot confirm that. But those are things that that we've heard, and I think they're trying to get back to that. Mark Sonnenberg says shareholders need to know if you do it right, people will reward them, and I think the shareholders will figure that out. And so, I think that's going to be okay. I think that the good news is that we don't have somebody like a previous CEO of a few CEOs ago that I think was much more financed focused. Mark Jones says, I think they skimped on training to get people in place as quickly as possible. Yeah, I think they did. I think they tried to get, they in some respects, they didn't have any choice. It's either A, we go through the training properly and we don't have staff and we can't get to full operations as quickly, or B, we got to cut corners and we're back up in operation. And so I think they went to option B, and now they're having to kind of go back and do some retraining and things like that. So
I think the other thing to throw in there is just, the way, social media and the way people feel entitled to free stuff now, the way social media has impacted that. Like, hey, here's this hack on how to get something free out of Disney. That's kind of ruined things, and just the whole entitlement. That's a whole nother, we could go on for another little while talking about that and stuff like that.
And we have talked about Disney etiquette and
yep.
Yeah, we talked about Disney etiquette, and also, things like, all the controversy around the DAS card, the disability card, where, Disney had to make changes because people abused it. And it's very unfortunate because there are some people who, that is a, dare I say, critical need in order to experience the parks, but for others who maybe just liked it because it was essentially like a free lightning lane kind of thing like that, they abused it. And then they also abused it for the 15, there's 15 people in my party too. And so, unfortunately, any good thing gets abused. And so Disney had to figure out how to fix that and try to make it back to something that worked. So I do think, though, that good times are ahead for the parks with Josh D'Amaro at the head, with Thomas Maslam at the head. I think Disney parks are primed for good days. Is it return to the golden days? Who knows? Time will tell. I hope so. I definitely hope so, but you never know. Time will tell. Some of that also depends on economics. We do know that Disney is still in the midst of a $6 billion improvement to the parks. Now, some of that also ties up to the new Abu Dhabi park, which, hopefully we'll hear some new things about that. We never know what's going to come out in roughly, what are we in? It's March now, so a little less than 6 months is D23 Expo. So who knows what we'll see with that. But what we do know is there's a lot more Mousecast still to come, because we do this live every single Tuesday night. How can you check us out? If you're listening to us right now via the podcast, we really encourage you to come and join us live every Tuesday night here on Facebook, here on our YouTube channel, and be part of the conversation, just like Danny was today, just like Mark Sonnenberg was, just like Mark Jones was. So we want you to be part of the conversation. But Matt, we got something coming up, don't we? It's
not
March.
musings either.
And Matt's musings is going to take a bit of a break because it's a different type of musing. In fact, it's not a musing. It's a mouseness. March Mouseness returns next week. We will begin a special 3-episode March Mouseness tournament coming up. And our next will be coming up next week. So we'll see kind of what we talk about with that. We'll do, I think, 2 episodes of that. And then we will pause for our traditional live game night on the 5th Tuesday. This time it'll be the 5th Tuesday of the month, and then finish off our 3rd March Mouseness. And who knows, maybe if we decide to do another one, might, for the first week in April. So coming up on Mousecast, you do not want to miss this. So definitely be sure to join us live on Facebook. You can find us at Mousecast 2025 on Facebook or on YouTube at Mousecast on YouTube. Just search Mousecast. That's it. MOUSECAST. Hey, Matt, I hope you've had a great night. It's been boys' night tonight. We've been hanging out again. Megan, hope that everybody had a great birthday there for Flynn. Congratulations to Flynn and happy birthday to him. And Hawk, we're thinking about you. Hoping everything's going well for you as well. And Mark Jones says he's looking forward to March Mouseness as well. It's going to be a great time. Will you agree with what we come up with? You'll just have to wait and see and come and comment. Until then, though, this is Mousecast, the podcast where the mind meets the magic. Until next time, we'll see you.
Thank you for listening to Mousecast. We appreciate the time you share with us. And tonight was a very fun show. And joining us is a must. This is where the mind meets the magic. We dive a little deeper